Good morning, everyone. Today I've got a new project I want to share with you, and that is pretty cool. Like I said, if we've got any budding web developers or people that want to start a business in the group, or if you're just watching this video for the first time, welcome to the channel. So what we do here is we look at all things AI. We don't care if it's image, video, music, desktop publishing, printing. We don't care. Web development, software development, anything you can throw a stick at, there's tutorials on this channel. So go ahead and join us in the Discord and ask any questions. Bring any new projects which are of interest to you to our attention, and we'll check them out. So today what I want to look at is the idea of a pop-up business. Say you are in the process of wanting to sell some products and you don't know how to get that sorted out. Well, all you need to do, as everyone keeps telling you, is buy a website. But it's not quite that simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how you can use Claude AI. And this was done before the project files as well. So there's going to be a update on this video, which makes it even easier. So the part 2 is going to make this even easier. But I do have to sort of get you up to speed. And I'm going to show you exactly what I've done to create my new brand, Scuffed Epoch, which is going to be over at scuffedepoch.com. We're going to have a few bits of merch, and we're also going to be putting out some training materials. So that means printed books, teaching you how to train AI models of various different kinds. So educational content. So here we are, and this is where we start. So I've bought a domain name, okay? And I have a website hosting platform. Now, you can use a website hosting platform of your choice. I do recommend a dedicated server, and even though they are a little bit pricier off the bat, you get a lot more control over what that does. And don't be afraid, because Claude can help you through all of it. Obviously, you can hire a developer or a web host and all this sort of business, but I just want to show you what I've done, and then you can judge for yourself whether it's for you. Okay, so pretty simple stuff. Here we go. I'm going to give you my first prompt, which is, I wish to create a placeholder website for my new IP, Scuffed Epoch. I will need to generate code which can be used as a template, and I'll show to an LLM to customize each page according to written instruction. Please show me a single column layout with a horizontal top menu which features the options home, clothing, posters, books. And it made me this. Straight away, we've got a really nice, clean design to start working with. It's got some placeholder, it's got some formatting. And if we take a look at the code, it's written well. So we've got a nice, clean style section, which we can use to hook into various bits and pieces. We've also got the body section. So there it is, very clean HTML, nice and concise, very simple. So this file would be saved as index.html and placed into the root of your hosting. Okay. Now, don't be afraid when it comes to the hosting. Again, like I said, I'm going to show you the SSH. So you're going to be using SSH to go in on the terminal and then relay commands to get this set up. So I'm going to assume that you have actually done SSH before. There are many tutorials on that. I use Putty. Putty, and all you need is the admin and the password, which is given to you by your web host when you buy your dedicated server. I do recommend Linux. So Linux Ubuntu is a great place to start, and it'll give you everything you need. Now, you might say, oh, but that's a bit too much. You don't know how many websites you want to host. You don't want to be setting them all up individually. You can put them all on the same box using what's called a virtual hosts setup with Apache. But I have to assume you have a certain level of competence or education where it comes to this. So I'm going to assume that you know what HTML is, you know what CSS is, you know what JavaScript is. You've set up a hosted server before. If you've ever seen the setups for games like Minecraft, okay, being able to set up a server like that that's enough. Okay, if you've ever done something like that before, that's enough. It's very simple and straightforward, and there's always great help guides on those hosting websites because they want you to buy their product. So anyway, let's move on. So this is our first iteration. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to drop in the source code for my 5 Below 5 website. So let me just take a look and show you what I mean by that. So if I go to 5below5.uk, you'll see this is my website. All right. And as you can see, I've got my radio station playing. I've got a link to my GPT-4 agents. There's various other links up at the top. There's another link for the radio station. There's some comfyui project pages. Okay. We've got some imagery in here. So the images takes a bit longer, but if you use generative AI, not anymore. So it's just a question of generating nice images and then cropping them and putting them in the right place and then changing the code so it links to those images. I know it sounds like a mouthful, but it's actually really easy. And then down at the bottom, we've got a whole bunch of other links. So this is just a sort of clean looking website. Okay. All right. So what we're going to be doing, we're also going to be integrating a Shopify shopping, some products with Shopify. All right. Now, I'm not going to show you the actual Shopify stuff because that is its own thing, but I am going to show you how we integrated it into your site so you can actually start selling within a couple of hours of buying the domain name. Obviously, international DNS propagation takes 72 hours worldwide, but you should be able to start seeing your website on the same day. All right. And certainly you can test it all locally before you upload it if you don't want to just go straight online. I'm trying to be transparent, so obviously my site is up and we will show you exactly what that looks like when we get there. So first of all, I've taken the code. So if you go and find a website that you like the look of, you can do view page source. Now, obviously, I'm assuming that you already knew that, but just for the purpose of the casual viewers, I will be explaining some of the basics like this. When we take a look at this, we can just copy this entire thing. And then I've dropped it into the chat. And I've said, please look at this site code. This represents my default template for another website on this server, which is true. We're 5below5.uk. I want to incorporate elements from this for the scuffedepoch.com template. So as you can see, this is a way where you can ask the LLM to look at a template or example code and then better align what we're working on to look like that. So it doesn't have to be a code that you own. We're taking inspiration right now. So you could call this site to site transfer, a little bit like image to image. We're going to take the code and we're going to use that to make our more advanced template. Because right now we've got a very basic setup. So let's take a look at that. And as you can see, it doesn't have the middle stuff. So if I just have a look at mine, you see how we've got all of these little boxes here. They're all elements which are filled in with information. And obviously we don't have that information. So what it's done is it's given us the same layout. We've got the same things at the bottom. We've got the same footer. We've got the same header menu, and we've got that main headline there. But if you take a look in the code, it actually does have all of that stuff in the, let's have a look, make sure. So you can see we've got container, main nav, we've got all of the same content, links, all right? And as a result, it's possible to build that out in the same way. So then we can also have a kind of like a brand style, which is what we're working on here. All right, so it goes ahead and it does that. It tells us exactly what it's done. I'm just going to move on so we can get through this quickly. In the template I showed, there are sections in the middle of the page. Are those defined as CSS class but not in the template? Please add some empty placeholders for me to experiment with. So this is where I've noticed that these elements here, these blocks, they're not actually in the style. So I want it to make sure that it includes that in my style. As you can see, it's done here, right? So it's going to do showcase section, home card section, feature section, dark feature section, responsive design, placeholder areas for images, CSS for hover effects, awesome font, awesome integration for icons. You can customize these by adding your own images, changing the background color and text colors, adjusting the heights and padding, modifying the grid layout with the home card section, adding more sections, and so on. Would you like me to? Now, at this point, you can literally just type the number and enter, and it will start doing what it had suggested. So would you like me to add additional section types? Would you like me to modify the styling? Would you like me to add more interactive elements? Okay. Would you include any other specific features from your 5 below 5 template? All right. So anyway, I think I kind of brushed past this because I've got a good idea of what I want to do. And what I wanted to do at this point was give it a dark mode, because I saw this as a kind of interesting scripting challenge to see what it can do. So I said, okay, let's try an advanced feature. First, we need to prompt the user to accept cookies. So there we go. Cookie tracking and cookie creation is quite an interesting thing to automate. We will use that cookie to define a user preference of light or dark mode. Are you familiar with the concept of dark mode? Currently, we have black text with a white background color theme. However, people prefer to use the white text with a black background as an option. We might choose to do this with CSS alone. If possible, re-implement the template with this option made available, so the cookie can be read to determine the user preference. So this is going to take care of a couple of things. First of all, for compliance, you should really be asking the user to accept the cookie permissions. They can reject them if they want, but it just means it won't remember their preferences when they come back to the site. So, yes, I'm familiar with dark mode. It's a common user preference, particularly for reducing eye strain in low light. We can implement this with a cookie consent pop-up, CSS custom property variables for the color scheme, and JavaScript to handle the cookie management and theme switching. Now, interestingly, what it's done here is it's given us just that. And I would say there's a little bit of a problem with the output because it's not allowed to create a cookie because the document is sandboxed, okay? But if like I said, the code does actually work, right? So if I take a look at the code, you can see here that it's written out the updated HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to make this work. Now, you might think, oh, well, this is getting really long now. You know, are we going to hit any sort of character limit? And yes, eventually we will. But the thing about HTML is that you would typically use an external CSS, maybe multiple external CSS files and multiple external JavaScript files. So later we're going to tell it, okay, we're going to do this all externally now. And then it will only work on the JavaScript code in a JavaScript file, which will be obviously a lot shorter. So that's going to cut down the response length considerably. So here we go. I say, this works great. Please merge this with the current template. And so I think it did, but I think it might still throw an error. No, it doesn't throw an error now. So I think, yeah, we can't test it in here. But again, what I recommend you guys to do is to use the open folder mode. So you put all your files into a folder and then you open the folder in VS Code, Microsoft VS Code. It's free. And then you'll be able to live edit the code. And then you'll be able to open those files in a browser on the side while you're working on this, and you'll be able to see the progress. So if we just take a quick look at the Scuffed Epoch website, as you can see at the bottom, we've got a pop-up that says, do you want to accept? So I accept the cookies. And in the top right corner, we've got the light and dark mode. And it did all of this on itself just through a conversational instruction. All right. Obviously, I haven't added any images to this yet, but that's fine. Because like I said, everything is a work in progress. Nothing is finished until, well, nothing's ever finished. It's always going to have more work you can do. So like I said, this is the current state of the project now. All right. So let's keep going. Please complete the output with the next response. Continue only from this section. Now, this is a trick because if you note this code here, if we go to the code, you'll notice that it does not complete. You see this here? It's because, as I was just explaining, it's run out of tokens because it's so long now. All right. And so one workaround is, say, here's the footer class, right? So I don't want it to give me the complete script. I want it to continue with the current script from footer class. So here I've said, please complete the output with the next response. Continue only from the section footer class. And so that's exactly what it's done. It's given me everything from footer to the actual closing HTML tag. And then in that way, I can get around the length. So if you ever run out of tokens because the response is so long, you can do stuff like that. And you could do that multiple times to chain together the output for an extremely long script or web design. All right. So that's one way I like to give you some tips and tricks, guys. That's a good one. So now we've completed that. I've dropped the complete clothing.html in. So I said, this is my current clothing page. I need to integrate this product to the home cards section. It should take up placeholder 1. Now, as you can see, this is Shopify code. All right. So if you've ever used Shopify, you can add your own products, you can drop ship, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. You can do print on demand, so you can do posters, clothing, all kinds of stuff. And what we're essentially doing is we are taking, because I'm going to assume that you've used Shopify. Shopify have their own platform, their own tutorials, and it's a very simple onboarding process. I think you start like for $1 a month for the first few months. And what essentially happens is you configure your shop, and then that shop is on Shopify. But if you go and look at add button, there's something called add button. This will give you the code, and the code contains all the information about what the product is, the preview, everything you need. So what I've done is I've said, here's the code for Shopify, and I want to put it into placeholder 1. So if we take a look at my site, this would be placeholder 1, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that process. Okay, so hang on. Is it going to do it? Let's have a look. Right, so you can't see the styling right now, but see, shop now. So product category 1 is now the product for, from our Shopify shop, right? So then what we're going to do is we're just going to keep going. Now, I know I'm blazing through this quickly, but we do one-to-one training, and there will be in-depth tutorials on the members section soon. So I want to give you guys an introduction to the kind of things that we're teaching here, right? So this is basically how to start your own business and be selling in 2 hours with Claude, basically, all right? And I think the cost was 1 web domain and the rental for the server every month. And obviously, if you do it my way, you can have as many websites on that server as you have time to put them up, right? That's the beauty of the dedicated server. You're not going to run out of space. I used to run a hosting company about 20 years ago, and we'd have 500 websites running on one server, and no one would ever notice that there was that many on there. You honestly, and these days it's even more that, it's probably thousands. You'd never know. So it's essentially you're running your own shared hosting platform. You could even actually sell companies the hosting space. It's totally fine. That's what all these other companies are doing. So anyway, and like I said, it doesn't take all day anymore. Now it takes a couple of hours. You can go from idea to actually selling and taking money and then having somebody else deliver the products and do all of the logistics and fulfillment. So anyway, here we go. So we've added a Shopify card with specific styling to the site's theme. We've done all these other checks. Now, this is all standard stuff that would have taken you ages to type out, but it just knows what to do because it's the same thing every time. Off it goes. So would you like me to make adjustments to Shopify component styling, card layout, theme integration, or responsive behavior? And what I've done is said I've updated the colors because I didn't like how it was looking. I don't think, I've updated the colors, right? And so now updated clothing page with orange theme. I don't think it's going to be able to preview it anymore, unfortunately. But if we go and take a look at the clothing page, you can see that it now has the orange lettering. Now I've jumped ahead a little bit here. Okay, so let's just go back. So we've changed the colors, and I said, I think we need to start using external CSS and JS files to prevent the template becoming needlessly long. And as you can see, it's now doing exactly what I asked with the styles.css, the main.js, the Shopify init.js, and the clothing.html. All of these files go into your hosting space, and they will just work. So obviously, if we need to check paths, it's going to do an import. So right now we've got style, okay, and then updated. And as you can see, it's done something strange here. It spat out the code in one script. And so, like I said, what I don't like is I don't like people tripping up on stuff. This should be obvious to any developer because it's saying things like, it's trying to save tokens. It's trying to say, listen, we don't need to output everything every time. But I do want it to do that to make sure there's no errors with some little line it's changed and didn't really explain itself. So please output the full clothing.html code. And as you can see, this is now the clothing.html code. There's no, as you can see here, look, style sheet, okay, for font awesome. And then style sheet, it's importing the style sheet, styles.css, which we got from here, okay. And obviously, if this is just styles, right? Nothing else. And this is just the JavaScript. And this is just the Shopify JavaScript. And then this is the actual clothing.html. But again, it's other product cards. You see how it's doing a shorthand? It's doing a shorthand so that, you know, but this is why I've said, give me the whole thing. So then you can just download this or copy paste the code into your current template, and then you can test it yourself locally and see that it works, because otherwise it's requiring that you just changed what was changed. And that's fine if you're a developer, but if you're not and you're just trying to use this as a coding assistant to get the job done for you, you know, it can do that. So again, the scripts are links at the bottom in case you were wondering, all right, for the JavaScripts, all right. And this is, like I said, if you did 1 hour of learning with HTML and CSS, things like this are explained. It's not advanced level knowledge. Okay, guys? You could probably get it done for free using like W3 School's course. Just sit there for an hour or two and learn the basics. If you haven't already, I'm assuming that you know this. So for the clothing.html, it now has the theme switcher, the cookie consent, the navigation, the showcase section, the product cards with Shopify integration, the feature section, the footer link, the main footer. And all of this has been done, I believe, in the first half hour. We're up to this point, by the way. This was a very quick conversation of working on the code and getting it to where we want it to be. So please update night mode. The product text is not changing. Because of the fact that we copied in the Shopify code, it's not marked up with the same style references as the rest of the website template. So it's done that for me. It's updated the Shopify code with the styles and in the JavaScript. So it's able to actually, so when we do, I mean, I don't know if that actually worked. Let me just check. Kinda. The backgrounds and everything has changed, but the text I chose to remain orange. Now, I've got to admit, for color blindness, orange probably wasn't the best. I don't remember. Is orange the good one? I forget sometimes. I have to look this kind of stuff up. When you're talking about like colorblind support, I know that some colors aren't good choices. So keep that in mind. All right. Now, don't quote me whether orange is a good one, because I must admit I can't remember. I think it is. It's been a while since I've looked it up, but that is a point of concern. Okay. So all the text colors now use theme variables. Text primary, text secondary, and accent color, which makes it easier for you to update that. But I still think there were some things I wanted to clear up here. So please output styles, CSS, and Shopify. We need the complete code because it was doing the shorthand again. So then we can update and make sure everything is correct. Please use the next response to output only the updated Shopify. Okay, because it was limited. Look, see that? Claude's response was limited because it hit the maximum length allowed at the time. Now, I've got to admit right now, this was a bit cumbersome because when the chat gets long, you reach the usage limit faster. And the thing about the new Claude projects feature, which I showed in a previous video, is that's eliminated, because what we can do is we can add our current code, so all of our styles, our HTML, to the project knowledge, and we can just restart a chat without having to like reprime it with what we're doing. It will already have knowledge of the code that's in its current state. And when you get to the end of a chat, and every time you reach a landmark, so every time I complete a certain update, I can then delete that file from the project knowledge and then add the updated file to it, start a new conversation, and then we're back to, not a long chat, which isn't necessary. You shouldn't do everything in really long chats, so you should restart them now. It's much more efficient and it's much more aware. But again, that will be coming in part 2 of this little mini series here. Okay. So product title and product text are gray, needs to be orange. This way it doesn't matter if dark or light mode are, because it will still be red. So I've used a contrast color. Okay, that's what I just showed you on this page here. So I'll modify Shopify init.js to ensure product title and text are always orange. So it's gone ahead and done that. As you can see, we've hard coded it to orange. Now, obviously, if you wanted to change it, it's just a case of putting a different hex code in this script. So it's super easy to modify and you can do whatever you want. I've now dropped the file back into it. Okay. And I've said before making changes, let's add the second product. So placeholder 2. So there we go. And then now we add the third product. Repeat the process with the third product, which will go into the div placeholder 3. And it's done that. Finally, we need to add the product to div placeholder 4. And there it is. Now we've got all 4 products in the website. Now at this point, let's see. I already bought this one. I got my scuffed epoch hat to test that it actually works. Everything is fine. I got it delivered in a couple of days, and it's really nice, actually. It's a really nice hat. So yeah, like I said, this is working 100%. You just go add to cart, and then you put in your payment information. I think it's PayPal, but if you don't have a PayPal, it will just ask you to do guest mode with a credit card or a debit card or whatever you want to do there. So, or you can make an account, you know, it's up to you. So this is 100% fit for purpose and will work. Customers can order and get their stuff delivered. So whether you're making this particular product yourself and you added it to your Shopify, or whether you're drop shipping in the case of the t-shirt, where it's just literally the company text, you know, set by you and blah, blah, blah. There you go. They even do the, you know, product shots and everything for you. So it's pretty cool. Out of stock. Oh, see, oh, man, it's a hot seller. These ones just flying out, you know. Anyway, so with that being said, that's the website design done. However, there's a few little clinch points, okay? So now I want to show you, now let's pivot, and we're going to do that actually in a part 2 of this mini series, because we're already at half an hour. So I'm going to, in the next episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the website hosting side. And if we have time, the SSL setup, so that your users don't get annoying messages about your site being insecure, which doesn't look professional. And we can solve that with Claude too. So with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.